you are. I'm so glad you are here. I hope you had a smooth landing here on the little planet. Feel very welcome and make yourself as comfortable as possible. In the last episode, I had hinted that I would like to surprise you here today. But at that time, I didn't know how or with what. First of all, I would like to say something about the subtitle of my podcast. I called it Meditation and Self-Exploration, and I would like to briefly refer to it now. If you use meditation techniques on a regular basis, then you almost automatically get into the area that I would like to call self-exploration. Whether we are consciously breathing, consciously doing physical exercises, regularly chanting mantras, sitting in silence, or whatever in the realm that I would like to summarize under the umbrella term meditation, this will have an effect on ourselves, on us as a person in one way or another. It doesn't stay away, so to speak. If you meditate regularly, in whatever form, then it has an effect on you, on your everyday life, and of course also on your environment, especially on the people who are close to you, to whom you feel connected. Your daily routine changes. You restructure it here and there, create spaces for yourself, also in the form of time on the clock. When you're just starting to discover meditation, it can be challenging. We do things in a different way than we normally do, or possibly not at all. And we engage in something, doing things that we've never done before, because all of a sudden they come into our lives, without us ever having planned them or wished for them. Yes, and sometimes we are really surprised by ourselves. Of course, this also happens if you have been practicing meditation for a long time, whereby I should now actually define more precisely what I personally understand by meditation, how I live and experience it. In my trailer for the podcast, I already hinted at this a little bit. When I came into contact with meditation, the perspectives on it were completely different than today. At least for the vast majority of people in our Western culture, especially in Europe where I live, the term was new, strange, or alienating, and often incomprehensible, and thus sometimes quite strangely defined. Today, meditation is more widespread than actually ever before. Yes, one could say on everyone's lips, and yet even now, there are the most different concept explanations and views about it. Perhaps we human children have not changed so much in our perceptions and sensitivities. This is such a comprehensive subject area that I have decided to research more deeply with you on this in any case, and we will be able to do this with an interview partner. But here I still ask you for a little patience, because I will certainly not be able to implement this until August. But what we will definitely notice, what we will be able to notice, is that we will change if we meditate regularly. Maybe not spectacularly, maybe even imperceptibly at first. Our ways of looking at ourselves and at some things around us can change. And this is not because one or another meditation technique will definitely bring this about. It's rather that we are always ready to open up, without expecting anything, that is, without wanting to achieve anything by meditating, without it to do, that is. I could also say, simply being ready for whatever shows up, whatever is felt, whatever is thought, whatever images may or may not appear, however we perceive our own body at the moment. All of this, of course, depends on time on the clock. Here, in fact, regularity creates the prerequisite for us to feel ourselves more and more finely, more and more deeply, to feel ourselves along. And I know what I'm talking about. For a not inconsiderable part of my life so far, I would describe myself as a person who did not really feel myself at all. Looking back, I can say that there were years of my life in which I more or less staggered through the so-called life, swaying back and forth. Please understand me right when I say staggered. They're not because I was addicted to alcohol. No, this staggering here refers to the fact that I was mainly in the function of living, doing things without really realizing who was doing it all, to function, and always accompanied by an inner feeling of restlessness or even a certain insecurity. The fact that this could change is certainly not because I started at some point to deal with meditation techniques. They didn't do that. How could they? They are what they are. Techniques, sequences of action. Even sitting silently, after all, involves some form of action. And yet, these techniques were something like possibilities, something like gates, doors. You may notice, here we come into an area that can only be described very vaguely with words, but we can at least approach it. When I began to meditate, I also began to perceive my body in a completely new way, and not necessarily always in a pleasant way. I noticed a narrowness rather than a wideness. Sometimes I couldn't even tell if I perceived my body or parts of it at all. And often I felt really alienated from myself. At that time, however, I couldn't express all this in such a way. It was not at all clear to me at the beginning. I was not even aware of it. All this refers to the so-called silent sitting. With the active meditations that came later, it was different again. What I mainly want to say is that changes in how I perceive things have come about through a practice. And that has never been a completed process for me. In fact, that's still the case today. And that's what I always mean when I say deeper and deeper. To perceive myself deeper and deeper, finer and finer. And then something like self-exploration begins, all by itself. A regular perhaps lifelong expedition to ourselves. In any case, we'll have more details on the subject of meditation in due course. We'll go deeper, dig a little together. But that should be enough for today. Because I still have a little surprise for you, which you may not even experience as such, who knows. In any case, I was surprised. And this too ultimately springs from what I would like to call the space of silence, especially in the early morning hours, but also late in the evening. It has happened to me lately that, from whatever, small texts have emerged in me, connected with an urge to want to bring them immediately on paper. I do not want to speak of automatic writing, but it comes quite close. Only when such a text is then captured on paper, I really read it consciously, follow it, and am then always surprised. Surprised that I have written this, wondering where it came from all of a sudden. Just like that, falling into myself, and there is the connection to having an idea. You know, it's almost like I'm being flown at by it. And even though it may not be something literary great, whatever that is, it leaves me wondering that something simply emerges from a silent moment in me, comes through me into an expression, namely on a sheet of paper, without having to have a special meaning. Just expression. I have always written a lot. Not diary, but already as a teenager I have recorded thoughts and feelings, and I certainly share that with many people. But that was at least for me something different than what shows itself to me now and then. In the past, what I wrote was usually closely connected with stories that I experienced, with my experiences, with my search for my place in the world around me. Who knows, maybe there was something in it that would still touch me deeply today. I disposed of most of it back then, often out of shame, by the way. Out of shame that someone might read it someday and laugh about it. And what remained fell victim to one of my many moves in life. But I don't miss any of it. And right now, there seems to be a time when writing is taking hold again, conquering a place in my everyday life. It just flies at me, just like you flew at the little planet today. I want to share one of these recent texts with you right now. One of these texts from the silence. And since it emerged from the silence, in the silence, you might want to listen to it yourself in the silence. It's not long, and so it will be just a little pause for you. Just see that you sit comfortably. If you like, lean back. Just sit in a way that is maximally comfortable for you. You might want to put one palm in the other on your lap, completely relaxed. And when you're ready, let me bring you into contact with the words from the silence. Breathe in deeply and gently through your nose And let exhale happen through your slightly open mouth. And let yourself breathe. Relax your forehead, your jaw, your shoulders. Notice how your belly feels. And now, let's step out onto the little planet into the meadow of words. You might want to close your eyes, if you haven't already, to let them rest a bit. Big waves over the pond, wing beat of the crane, still cold, under and on the skin, in the feeling, in the thoughts. Wherever I look, slowness, like waiting for something to come. Still no unfolded leaf on the tree, especially no buds. Rigidity, cold, waiting, longing, and also silence. Silence, so unfamiliar. Silence, which in turn makes everything bearable. And then there's the body, through which it pulsates, through which it flows. Sometimes even a little crackling and tingling. And then there's everything and nothing. Simultaneously, like two aging sisters. They've seen so much already, and they're not waiting, are simply there. Hold hands silently and amicably. Take a deep, gentle breath. Let the breath go when it wants to go. And let yourself breathe as if by itself. Now, if you like, put your palms together and start rubbing them together. Rub a little faster and a little faster still. And now, put your face in your hands. Cover your eyes with your hands. Leave your nose free. Feel the aliveness pulsing through your palms. Feel it on your face. It's your aliveness. And breathe in deeply and gently again. And when exhale happens, very slowly and gently, release your hands from your face. Your hands will find their way all by themselves. Let them find their way all by themselves to where they can lie most comfortably. If you still have your eyes closed, now is a good time to open them gently and very, very slowly. Take your time for this. If it feels good for you, then move your toes and fingers a little bit now too. Now we were on the small planet for the first time on the meadow of the words. Nice that you accompanied me there. I have called the small text from the silence Wingbeat of the Crane. And if you want to read this text again, you can find it on my website, which I link to you in the show notes. So now you already know the meadow of words on the little planet. In the next episode, I would like to take you to the Cave of Sounds. That's where I always retreat to when I want to sing or sound. And on July 30th, I will be chanting a mantra there for you. Maybe you will be there and enrich me and the Cave of Sounds with your voice. That would make me very happy. And until then, it could be that you will be surprised by yourself from time to time, by whatever or in whatever way. If that should be the case, please write me if you want. Gladly about my website or also about a comment on YouTube. Now, I wish you all the love and would be happy to meet you here again soon. Maybe see you soon.